Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia and this is the update on the Russian offensive. So first thing, the biggest thing that has happened over the past 48 hours is actually happening just the past 12 hours. The Russians launched a massive missile and drone strike on Ukraine, and according to Remilin 21, which is a pro-Russian source, he reported that 22-17 is confirmed. Tu-95 bombers were in the air, and they launched a massive barrage of missiles. And then on top of that, there is 50 Geran 2 suicide drones also in the air, and 7 ships reportedly launched missiles as well. So a lot of explosion is happening across Ukraine, and usually I don't really report much on the missile strikes, but there's one very big one. At PAVLOHRAD, a massive explosion is reported, and according to Ryba, the pro-Russian source, they say that there's a massive explosion due to the detonation of ammunition. So accordingly, the PAVLOHRAD was hit by multiple drones first, and then it was hit by tactical missiles, which means that within PAVLOHRAD itself, there was a lot of locations that they actually stored ammunition, and they are all identified, and then one by one they were hit. So which means they are all not concentrated on just one location. It seems like they are on multiple locations, and this caused massive shelling across the entire city. So then the videos coming out from PAVLOHRAD also shows that there's some kind of like a firework sort of explosion, which means which actually is very similar to how air defense systems explode. So as according to Ryba, they say that this is striking reminiscence of the picture that arrives when the air defense system with a chandelier of burning pieces of solid fuel from the engine compartment of missile is destroyed. So there is this firework kind of thing that is very similar to how SAM systems explode. So they believe, the pro-Russian source believe that this strike actually hits air defense ammunitions, so or weaponry that is actually being stocked up or gathered at PAVLOHRAD. The Ukrainian Air Force is yeah, they say that they shot down 15 out of 18 cruise missiles, and that's nothing to be celebrating about, because 3 cruise missiles going through and caused such massive explosion within PAVLOHRAD. So if we were to believe that they really shot down 15 out of 18, that will also mean that each bomber only fires 1 missile. Because we have 17 confirmed bombers, each bomber flew up and just launched 1 missile. Ta-da! Okay, so yeah, whatever you want to believe. And so there is the missile strike, and then there was also another missile strike that actually hits Kramatorsk. This information comes from the Russian Defense Ministry, which actually is the day before. That means this missile strike actually probably happened on the 29th, and reportedly up to 200 tons of ammunition was destroyed as the missile strike hits the train station at Kramatorsk. So this is a separate one. This is not related to the one at PAVLOHRAD. It's actually a separate one. So this is actually another indication that the Russians are pretty aware of the Ukrainian gathering of ammunition, forces, storage of maybe oil and missiles. So they are actually weakening and shaving away at the Ukrainian gathering of forces. So in terms of the Russian offensive, they were actually, some Russian actions within Kherson is that they have some ships around, some vessels, small boats around this region. Unfortunately, there was this incident that a civilian inflatable. So there's just one civilian, one guy. He went to check on his fishing net, and then he got spotted by a Ukrainian drone, and a drone believed that he's a Russian uh, spy or agent or soldier, and they actually killed him. And they even put music and their logo, and it's quite horrendous. I shared that on the DPA's Telegram channel. You can check it out. I just thought I need to mention this because this is horrendous. It's like, it's just one guy. You could have just sent a speedboat and just arrest him. So yeah. So anyway, in terms of the Russian actions, the Russians continue their offensive at Marinka region, and they managed to capture more grounds. So they finally have captured the entire central region of Marinka in their offensive, and they are continue to push in towards the western part. And the front line now looks a bit like this. This front line is actually based on Ribus mapping. So Ribus mapping is the most advanced. The one by Surya Maps is one street behind. So yeah, but it is a significant advance. So the Russian offensive at Marinka finally have some kind of breakthrough. The Russians also shelled Avdiivka. So there might be some kind of a Ukrainian gathering of forces, or maybe gathering of ammunition of some sort around Avdiivka. So that's something. Otherwise, shelling, the other shellings I don't have to report because it's all in the front line. Fighting is reported at Novomikhailivka according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So, but I don't think this is a real attack. Over at the Avdiivka region, the Russians are pushing at Pervomaiske. There is some report by pro-Ukrainian source talking about attack at Nevelsky. Around at Avdiivka, the fighting is actually coming from the east. So according to the Deep State UA, they say that the Russians had a concentration of forces over Kruta Balka. So they are actually pushing westward into Avdiivka, and this is then reported also by Deep State UA that the fighting is coming from the east. They also say that the fighting is coming from the northeast as well, from the Novo-Bakhmutivka direction. So they say that they are attacking Avdiivka from the east and the northeast. Fighting is also reported in the north of Krasnohorivka along the railway lines. So this Avdiivka offensive is definitely still ongoing. However, there is rumors of fighting at Geran, but this is reported by pro-Ukrainian source Maroshinikov. I think this is inaccurate because on the 29th, the Ukrainians actually launched a counter-offensive on Vodian. So I don't think the Russians are in the position to actually launch an offensive around this area here. So this is at the Avdiivka front, and over the Bakhmut front, the Russians, the Wagner Forces continue their push within Bakhmut. Particularly, they are seemingly trying to cut across in this direction to break the Ukrainian forces into two parts, into two groups, and then they are now continue their operations to encircle or to pressure to put this push the front line into this citadel region in Bakhmut. So they have succeeded to cover up the northern part already. So it looks like they will continue to push southwest and cover the western part. So, and then there is some, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, they say that the Russians are attacking Alexandro Shitane and Peteshny. So this might be I'm not sure what is this operation is meant to do. So might be to draw Ukrainian forces away. Perhaps, although the Ukrainians, the Wagner forces wanted more Ukrainians to go into Bakhmut itself as well. Or maybe the Russians trying to close out Bakhmut for good so that they can actually straighten the line and prepare for the Ukrainian counteroffensive. That could also be possible. The Ukrainians did do their some kind of attack counteroffensive in Ivaniske from Chasivia and Kalinina. So that did not work out. That happened on the 29th. The Russians are also reportedly attacking Minkivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry as well. Minkivka is here. So this doesn't feel like a legitimate one. Fighting within the Sivas front is reported at Sperne as well as at Bilohorivka. This information is coming from the Yoke group of forces. Or is it Russian Defense Ministry? Special Forces of Yoke group of forces. Yeah, so anyway, there is fighting at Bilohorivka. They are trying to recapture Bilohorivka so that they can close up the Luhansk front around the Sivas side. Bombardment is reported at Verkhanokanyamske, Prihorivka, and Serebranka. So, and then of course a lot of bombardment within the Serebranske forestry. I think the Russians are trying to to really force the Ukrainians to get out by putting a lot of shelling. The shelling has been really tremendous in this area. It's been a lot. So, and the Ukrainians, if they don't withdraw, then the shelling will just going to continue, and this is exactly what's happening. The Ukrainians continue to go back into the positions, and then they continue to get shelled again, and this just repeats again and again and again. Shelling is also reported at Torske, Terny, and Makievka as usual. And over in the situation at the Kupiansk front, the Russian offensive is not really offensive. The Ukrainians are hardly offended. The Ukrainians are the one on the offensive here. The Russians are simply doing defensive operation. They are shelling Ukrainian position as Demakivka, Novosibirsk, Kaislivka, Sinkivka, and they are also shelling at Masyutivka. Interestingly, is they are shelling at Kayamka. I think there might be a Ukrainian force that is around this region trying to cross over soon, which is why the Russians are shelling it. So this is also part of the Russian operation to wear down the Ukrainian forces at around this front. So the Russians are no longer on the offensive, per se. I wouldn't say artillery shelling is considered offensive per se, but because shelling is happening every day throughout the entire war. So I think the ground operations now, the initiative within the Kupiansk-Svatove front is on the Ukrainian side. So anyway, this is the update on the Russian offensive, and hopefully this gives you some insight about the situation on the Russian